Welcome to the C.S. Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Wise. You guys can keep calling me Sam, but we gotta distinguish another Sam in the CSJ circle, so howdy, I'm Sam Wise. And today, I'm presenting you the Acolyte question. How can ISTPs stop worrying about credentials and degrees? For starters, you should read the first 3 chapters of The Unchained Male by Caleb Jones. Basically, those topics are around the 5 traits of an alpha male, 2.0. It needed an update. Don't worry about the first edition. How to accomplish happiness in the long term, as well as how society programs you and how to get over that. And I'm sure after you read those 3 chapters, you'll be like, wow, this is a good book. I'll keep reading it. But those 3 are pretty essential for you as an ISTP. And the other thing, and also kind of the summary of this video is, you're the jack of all trades. Don't worry too much about specialization. Why? I'll get into it. But yeah, ISTPs are worried about not having the right credentials, or the right degree, or the right qualifications. They're very worried about not being experts in their field, and it prevents them from doing stuff. And a lot of these are silly. Like, this is expert thinking nemesis talking. And the nemesis function is designed to stir the hero into action, because it's aware of the demon function a bit more, so it's trying to kick the hero in its pants. It's like, hey, listen, you're having a lot of fun, you know, you're Spider-Man, you're swinging around the city for a glee old time, and it's like, no, you need to train for the bigger threat that's coming. It's like training to be a petty villain. It's like, yeah, I'm really difficult now, but things get harder from here, man. And I will help you out with that. But that's enough of the superhero analogies. We get the idea of how the nemesis works, that, yeah, it's going to try to get the hero into action, and usually that would translate to, oh, get X credential, you know, get yourself more experience in this field, which is, you know, a thing that ISTPs are concerned about, you know, with the critic function being hypercritical towards themselves and other people. But here's the thing with the nemesis is that, yeah, it's trying to get the hero, you know, to do action, but there's the idea that you can point out a problem, but you don't have to accept the solution to it. That, you know, the nemesis is like, okay, TI hero, you're super smart, go out and, you know, verify the stuff, get your qualification, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of ways to verify things without the qualification. You know, TI hero is very prideful. I can attest to that. And it's not willing to listen to people and say, hey, your qualifications, your credentials, they're really not that important, man. And I had a hard time with accepting this too. Like, it's only recently that I've done it, you know. I'm okay with the factory job that I have, and I always want to do entrepreneurial stuff, my business, kind of like, there's, anti-critic is kind of getting me a little bit, where it's like, it's not an exact one, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm willing to do the Jordan Peterson, you align yourself to the stars and you have to readjust, and then, you know, your adjustments get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's what I'm trying to do. And I was getting frustrated with college, where it's like, I'm putting a lot of effort into stuff that I legit do not care about, that's preventing me from doing the stuff that I want to do, and I dropped out recently, and well, we'll see how that goes, but, you know, other TI heroes, yeah, like, you got this, man. Your credentials don't mean shit. What really matters more is people that you know. And it matters the effort that you put in. That kind of stuff. And, you know, not everyone's gonna listen to that. And some people will be okay as a result of that. Others won't be. Others will take my advice and be okay. Others won't take my advice and not be okay. It's one of those things where it's like, there's just a lot of routes. Pick the one that you want to go on. And that's really where it comes down to, is NI child. You know, there's hope in that, because, you know, if it does what it wants, you know, it's willing to take the action, take some risks. Like, most ISTPs really don't take a whole lot of risks, because their TE nemesis is really crippling to them. That it's like, well, I don't have the experience, I don't have the expertise, the credentials, that they just kind of sit around and don't do a lot of stuff, Smoke weed, play video games. It's just like, it's sad for the most part. I mean, like, nothing against those in temperance, but that's all you do. Like, not a great thing. It's a shame. But I do have a story for an ISTP that I think has done this well. I think he missed the general point, but I still think it serves as a great example of how SI Critic can help you out with your TE nemesis. But before we get into that, ego hacking by text. We have an upcoming course that's coming out on Black Friday. It's about how to type people through text and email, any messages written out by a person. You can read those, you can piece them out, what cognitive functions, what traits on the type grid they are, and you can social engineer them through your own writing, and you can get your points across far better, far more efficiently, with little hassle. Pre-orders will start this week with a one-time major discount. So go ahead, get it now. I'll leave a link. And back to my dad. So my dad is an ISTP. He is prideful and obstinate. He's pretty accommodating with me, but I'd say overall he's obstinate. But he had a deck building company, and that went under because of his business partner. But he needed to get a job of some kind to feed us, and he ended up being a saw operator in the company that I'm currently working for, and the one that he promoted into. But he was just a saw operator, and the guys would run out of work, and they'd just chat and talk and whatever, and he just kind of hated being bored, and quite frankly he's antisocial, but that's okay. I mean, I do the same thing too, where he's like, well, I gotta do something. And he ended up being friendly enough with the welders that he learned how to weld, and he got promoted into that, and he was one of the best welders, and he was a level-headed guy for the most part. Extroverted sense and rage comes out, but that's fine. But he was promoted into being a team lead by the guy in charge, and he led the mill room and the weld room, and he's currently making I think it's $33 an hour and some change, but that's crazy good for my area. I mean, if you want to go higher, you can argue, lawyers and bankers and stuff like that, but that's IT guy salary and stuff like that. Definitely way more than a teacher. But he was willing to put in the work, and he kind of missed the point because he's still kind of really pushing on college degrees and stuff like that. It's oh man, if I had a college degree, da 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 da, and it's you just kind of prove that you don't exactly need one. You don't even respect the people in desk jobs anyway, yet you want that lifestyle? I don't get it. But put in the work. That's the first thing. You need a good grasp on your SI Critic to just put in the effort. And the other thing that helps is become a teacher of a skill, even if you don't know what you're doing or have the experience for it. Most people don't care if you have the experience, because you want to know what's more important? People don't want to learn by themselves. They're almost afraid to. And, if they are really concerned about credentials, it's their loss, really. Are they really going to do it by themselves? Who knows? But trust me, there are people that will appreciate it. I have a hard time thinking of stuff that my dad has taught me, but that he doesn't have skills in. But I ask him for help with a lot of the tools and stuff, because I do work with wood as a hobby, and I don't have a good grasp on physical tools. I kind of do G-code stuff with a CNC machine, and that type of thing. But, he'll help me out with, like, saws and stuff like that, and, teach me how to run those. But he was, in my robotics days in high school, he was, like, a welder, like, fairly new. I think he only did it for, like, 2 months or something like that, and he went over to my school as, like, a volunteer for welding, and he kind of, like, helped teach, like, my peers how to do welding, and that was cool. I really appreciate that. That was a really good time for him. Wish he was still doing some kind of teaching stuff, but, I graduated, and I think he lost interest after that because, hey, it's not his kid, and that's fair. The secret to teaching. Well, you're going to have some kind of imposter syndrome going on, but you just kind of have to roll with the punches, with your expert sensing, where you're living within the moment. You're going to get, your teen nemesis is going to be like, oh, you don't have the experience to do this, you don't have the credentials and stuff like that, but you'll eventually get the appreciation from the people, ideally at least, to get yourself going through. And teaching is your best way of learning. So if in many ways you have to do the teaching if you really want to learn. And if that's the case that you want it, then you're going to find the path through, even if that means bypassing the imposter syndrome. And the best way to describe how, teaching is the way for you to learn is through Frank Abagnale's one chapter ahead mindset. Frank Abagnale was, like, he posed as a lot of jobs. Like, he posed as, like, a CIA agent, he posed as a flight person, and at one point he was teaching sociology, and one of the professors or students, someone was like, you never taught this before. How do you know what you're doing for teaching? And he's just like, I just read one chapter ahead of everyone else. And that's what you need to do. You need to be prepared. You gotta use your preparation, your due diligence, put the effort in to do your research. I mean, there's TI in there, but, you also have your SI. You study up, and you're basically just getting the information so you can teach other people that information. And that's how the Frank Abagnale method works. And you can turn that TE nemesis into a blessing. You can turn it into your ally. Because, when you put your work in, you're going to be going through every in and out, and, you become one with your process so much that you don't worry as much because you just get the thing done. And, your SI credit combined with that TE nemesis, it'll make you successful. Part of also making you successful is having some reading on entrepreneurship, if that's kind of the route you're going, or you may find use of it within business or interacting in professional settings. The Entrepreneurship 16. If you go to csjoseph.life/reading, you can get access to a free trial of Audible, and you can get access to some books for free, just part of your trial period, and just go to town, learn some stuff. Go out and be successful, man. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Take care.